You know what? I feel like let's do a bit more fantasy, somewhat isekai stories. Let's start off with Cradle Vol.1 Unsouled, despite the fact this is not a isekai story. It has the trappings of one, though. So, yeah, this rather awkwardly titled book, because Unsouled just sounds really weird to say out loud, is an anime inspired martial arts tale set in, well, a martial arts inspired fantasy world. So, let's dig in. Our, for the plot, we follow Linden, one of various children born in the Sacred Valley, who were all raised to become strong warriors. And he's set to be tested to figure out the nature of his Madra, or soul, to learn what future positions he'll be and how strong he can become. However, when Linden is tested, he's revealed to not really have any affinity or, well, speciality at all, and is essentially considered unsouled, someone who basically considered less of a person and is, well, or has a defective soul, which sounds like a really bad medical condition when you say it out loud. From there, he spends the rest of his life up to the point in the series trying to grow stronger, using whatever methods he can come up with to strengthen his soul, such as absorbing the essence of a special fruit and learning special soul techniques or special secret techniques. But he has to be incredibly careful because in his society he's considered, again, less of a person by his status as an unsouled. Basically what I mean is killing him would be seen less as of a murder and more as just getting rid of an annoying bug. Yeah, he is not well looked upon by anyone that isn't his blood family. So yeah, you can get the plot from there. It's him trying to prove himself and grow stronger so that he can fight and, well, again, prove himself to the people who doubted him, especially since he's joining a yearly tournament to test his growing strength. And it's around this point that the plot suddenly twists. Yeah, in the middle of the book, some random dude named Lee Markutha, and I probably pronounced that wrong, shows up, murders a bunch of people, and kills Linden after he tries to fight him. Linden basically fighting him because he has no other way of escaping the mass murderer. However, suddenly speaking, a random angel named Soriel shows up, turns back time, and captures Lee Markuth. And because Linden at least attempted to fight him, she decides to show Linden a vision of the future. This vision shows Linden's home basically being destroyed years into the future, and despite living a good life up until that point, Linden has decided that he will now need to become strong enough to slay a godlike being. Not Lee Markuth, a different godlike being who's apparently even stronger than Lee Markuth. Yeah. And, well, to grow that strong, he'll need to find the Cradle, the strongest people in the world, essentially. And in order to do that, he has to leave the valley, which is considered a bit of a pain because no one in the valley actually leaves it. So, in order to help him leave the valley, he has to seek out a random girl named Yeren, who has managed to sneak into the valley, and he needs to help her with whatever she's dealing with so that the pair can sneak out of the valley and escape it. And if you think the plot turn feels kind of random, yeah, it does feel like that actually reading the book too. I honestly don't hate it though. Before, while it did feel like a standard story, it held my attention overall. It started to feel like a standard Marvel movie origin story. Pretty good, if not standard. Then the plot twist happens, and I'm like, okay, what's this now? So, yeah, the plot twist definitely shook things up and made the rest of the story more interesting to go forward with, as well as led to more lore drops. Yeah, there are a lot of lore drops here that are legitimately interesting and make me curious about this world the story takes place in, like the mystery of the outside world. As I said earlier, the entirety of this first book takes place in the Sacred Valley, and no one inside the Sacred Valley ever leaves the Sacred Valley. So the outside world is a complete mystery. Why? Because no one believes anyone could survive outside of the Sacred Valley. Because there are deadly monsters outside, and no one knows any way past them. So I'm curious to see what the outside world is like in this monster-infused hellscape, apparently. And, I mean, there's all this stuff with the angel, and I want to know what that's all about, because, it feels like it came out of nowhere. Also, Lee Markuth came out of nowhere, and I kind of want to know what he's all about, too, because he seems to relate to some weird prophecy or something, or he set up a prophecy about himself. It's weird. I'm curious. It's weird and I'm curious. Again, there's a lot of lore drops and pretty good action. I do admit that at times it's a bit of a slog to read, but Lyndon's goal of becoming stronger does resonate with what does resonate, and is relatable. He wants to grow stronger so he can prove himself to people who look down upon him. It's the classic underdog story, ramped up to 11 because less of a person. And now he has this even bigger goal of slaying a god, and so he needs to figure out how to actually do that and grow stronger to do it. Overall, I have to say, this first book does what a first book should do. It makes me curious about what comes next. So, yeah, if you want to read some anime-inspired fantasy martial arts stories, I recommend this one. It makes you curious about what comes next, even if that random plot twist in the end does feel completely random. Yeah, it's not over how random that felt in actually reading it.